Captain Daniel Kane stood on the bridge of the human scout ship Horizon's Edge, his eyes fixed on the swirling mass of alien warships ahead. The fleet of the Andarian Empire was massive, their ships gleaming with blue energy shields, bristling with weapons. Daniel's own squadron was tiny in comparison, only 20 human vessels against hundreds of Andarian warships. Most other commanders had long given up hope. "Not him, status report," Daniel barked. His voice carried a calm authority, honed from years in the human militias. Lieutenant Mara Singh, his second-in-command, looked tense but resolute. "They're forming attack patterns, sir. We can't match their firepower head-on." Daniel smiled faintly. "That was fine. Humans never fought the way the aliens expected. Then we won't fight head-on," he said. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Use the asteroid field to our advantage. Remember, they see us as weak. That's their mistake." The Andarian fleet surged forward, confident, arrogant. Their leaders had long dismissed humans as primitive, unpredictable, and unworthy opponents. Daniel knew exactly how to use that. Humans were underestimated at every turn. That was their edge. As the human ships darted between massive floating rocks, weaving and twisting, Andarian lasers tore through the void where humans had been only moments before. The aliens fired with precision, but Daniel's tactics made them waste energy. The human squadron, though small, moved like a single organism, fast, clever, deadly. "This is insane," whispered Lieutenant Singh as another Andarian cruiser exploded in a fiery bloom. "They can't keep up with us." "They will try," Daniel replied. "But they won't succeed if we stay one step ahead." Hours passed like this, a deadly dance of lasers, explosions, and evasive maneuvers. Daniel's humans were small but smart. They struck where the Andarians least expected, sabotaging the enemy fleet's formations. One by one, the massive cruisers began to falter. The humans' agility and ingenuity were making the difference. Finally, the Andarian flagship, a massive black dreadnought, moved in to crush the small human squad. Daniel's eyes narrowed. This was it. "The final move, target their engines," he ordered. "Singh, fire the disruptor drones." Tiny drones shot out of the human ships, weaving past the enemy's shields. Within minutes, the dreadnought shuddered as its engines failed, leaving it drifting and vulnerable. The Andarian fleet faltered. Without their flagship leading them, they had no coordination. Daniel's voice cut through the comms. "This fight is over. Retreat or be destroyed." The Andarian commanders hesitated. No one had expected such cunning from humans. Slowly, their remaining ships began to fall back. Victory belonged to the human squadron, and to the allies they had come to defend. Later, on the neutral station of Narevos Prime, the human squadron was hailed as heroes. Alien dignitaries from across the galaxy gathered to honor Daniel and his team. Many humans had been dismissed as primitive and weak, but here, in the light of their triumph, the truth was undeniable. Humans were clever, brave, and unpredictable. A booming voice announced, "Captain Daniel Kane, for your extraordinary courage and leadership, you will be granted a reward befitting your deeds," the crowd murmured. Everyone expected Daniel to choose Princess Solara, the most admired and influential princess of the Allied Empire. She was radiant, confident, and adored by all. Many assumed Daniel would select her, as custom dictated. Daniel, however, scanned the assembly. His gaze lingered on a quiet figure at the edge of the hall. Princess Lyra was nothing like the others. She was small, with soft features and a gentle presence. Most dismissed her as unremarkable, a political pawn with little influence. But Daniel saw something different. Her eyes were clear and intelligent, and there was a quiet strength in her posture. She watched the proceedings with calm observation, not seeking attention, not pretending to be more than she was. Daniel's mind made its decision. When the announcer asked him to step forward and name his choice, Daniel walked to the podium. The hall fell silent. Every eye was on him. "I choose Princess Lyra," he said firmly. Gasps echoed across the room. Whispers of shock spread through the crowd. A human soldier daring to choose someone overlooked and undervalued? Many muttered that he was foolish, that he was wasting his chance to gain political advantage. Princess Solara's eyes widened in disbelief. "Surely you jest," she said softly, though her tone was edged with anger. Daniel shook his head. "I am not jesting. I value character over popularity. Lyra possesses qualities that are far more important than appearances or influence. She has intelligence, courage, and a perspective the galaxy needs. The council members were aghast. Choosing Lyra was unprecedented. She had no armies, no political alliances, no fanfare. Yet Daniel's choice was deliberate, unshakable. Lyra herself looked startled. She had never imagined that anyone would notice her in this way. She blinked, unsure how to respond. Finally, she stepped forward, bowing her head respectfully. I am honored, Captain Kane, she said softly. Her voice, though quiet, carried a sincerity that resonated through the hall. Daniel offered a small, encouraging smile. You earned it, he said simply. Even as some in the assembly grumbled and whispered, others looked thoughtful. Humans often defied expectations. Their values were different. They did not follow the same rules as the alien elite. Daniel's choice was a reflection of that. He saw worth where others did not. In the days that followed, Daniel and Lyra were sent to a neutral planet, Viridian, under observation. There they would live until the political implications of their union could be assessed. Many in the alien empires assumed this would be a temporary arrangement. Most expected Daniel to grow tired of Lyra, or for her to falter under the pressure of attention. But from the first day, Daniel treated her with respect. He never spoke down to her, never doubted her abilities. He asked her opinions, valued her insights, and encouraged her to speak freely. Lyra had never encountered a person who looked beyond her outward insignificance and recognized her potential. She began to see herself differently. Daniel's belief in her abilities inspired confidence, even in the face of mockery from other alien dignitaries. She realized that her intelligence and compassion were strengths, not weaknesses. For the first time, she felt truly seen. One evening, as they walked through the glowing gardens of Viridian, Daniel asked, "Do you ever wonder why humans are so underestimated?" Lyra thought for a moment. I suppose it's because you are small and there are so few of you in the galaxy, and maybe because you don't follow the same rules as the rest of us." Daniel nodded. Exactly. We're underestimated, yes, but that's our advantage. The galaxy never expects humans to see things clearly, to act boldly, to value what truly matters. That's why we survive and why we succeed. Lyra smiled, beginning to understand. And you think I could succeed too? I know it, Daniel said. You have insight, courage, and a mind they would never understand. Together we can face what others cannot. For the first time, Lyra felt a spark of purpose. Perhaps, she thought, being overlooked was not a curse but an opportunity. And with a human at her side, she might finally step out of the shadows. The galaxy watched in astonishment as the human soldier chose the least admired princess. Most thought it foolish, most doubted its value. Yet Daniel Kane, with his human instinct for character over status, had seen what others could not. And as the stars shimmered above Viridian, both Daniel and Lyra felt the stirrings of a partnership that could change the course of the galaxy. One that would challenge assumptions, defy expectations, and prove that true strength comes from courage, intelligence, and the ability to see value where others do not. Humans were underestimated, aliens were arrogant, and in that miscalculation lay the beginning of something extraordinary. Viridian's sun rose over the quiet forested valleys, casting a golden glow on the city where Captain Daniel Kane and Princess Lyra now resided. The planet was neutral, untouched by war, and perfect for the Council to observe their unusual pairing. Yet despite the serene surroundings, tensions ran high. The galaxy was watching, and nearly everyone disapproved of Daniel's choice. The day after the ceremony, Daniel and Lyra were summoned to the council hall. Alien officials from dozens of star systems had gathered, their expressions ranging from disdain to barely concealed curiosity. Cameras floated overhead, recording every move, every word. "Captain Kane," said the eldest counselor, a tall, armored alien with golden eyes, "you have chosen Princess Lyra, who is, shall we say, insignificant in her influence and status. Can you explain this decision to the council?" Daniel stepped forward, calm and steady. "I choose her because she has qualities that matter more than influence. She is intelligent, compassionate, and observant. I have no interest in status or politics, only in the value of a person." The counselor's mandibles clicked in irritation. Such reasoning is unusual for a human. "And Princess Lyra, do you understand the responsibilities that accompany this choice? She is barely recognized among her peers." Lyra's voice, soft but firm, surprised the council. "I may not have armies or influence, but I have knowledge and the ability to learn. I am willing to do what is necessary to serve." not just to exist as a title. Murmurs spread through the hall. Some aliens scoffed, dismissing her confidence as naivete. Others whispered in curiosity. They had never seen a princess speak with such quiet determination, nor a human make such a deliberate choice. Daniel placed a hand lightly on her shoulder. I did not choose her for convenience nor for politics. I chose her for her mind, her courage, and her perspective. The galaxy will see in time that what is often overlooked is more powerful than what is admired. In the days that followed, Daniel and Lyra settled into life on Viridian. Their quarters were modest but comfortable. Daniel trained his human squad, while Lyra spent hours studying alien technologies, tactics, and history. She was eager to learn, and Daniel encouraged her curiosity. At mealtime, they often spoke quietly about strategy, morality, and the differences between humans and aliens. Daniel explained why humans valued adaptability over rigid tradition, creativity over brute force, and empathy over dominance. Lyra listened, fascinated. She realized that Daniel's philosophy reflected a truth many in the galaxy had overlooked. Humans were special not because of their size, strength, or numbers, but because of their mind and heart. You know, Lyra said one evening as they walked through a luminous grove, I never thought anyone would see me as capable. Always I was ignored, but you? You believe in me? Daniel smiled. I don't just believe in you. I know you can do things others cannot. The galaxy may not see it yet, but we will show them. Meanwhile, news of Daniel's choice spread like wildfire. Across the galaxy, political commentators and military strategists debated its implications. Many ridiculed the human soldier. He chose a nobody, they exclaimed. Surely this will bring humiliation to all allied forces. Yet some observers noticed something different. Those willing to look beyond appearances began to wonder. What if Daniel's judgment was wiser than it seemed? Humans often saw possibilities where others saw nothing. They valued results over appearances, substance over spectacle, and Daniel had already proven on the battlefield that humans could do the impossible. Back on Viridian, Lyra began to demonstrate abilities the Council had never seen. One morning, a simulation exercise designed to test her tactical thinking brought the staff to stunned silence. Lyra, Daniel said, watching her calmly direct drones through complex maneuvers. Why did you choose that formation? She looked up, her eyes steady. Because the enemy will expect the obvious pattern. The unusual formation gives us an advantage. It spreads their focus and forces them to adapt. They underestimate us because they do not know what we value. Daniel nodded in approval. Exactly. And that in essence is the human advantage. We see the gaps, the possibilities, the things others miss. You understand that now? The observers, alien military advisors from prestigious empires, exchanged whispers. She has insight beyond her station, one admitted. Perhaps the human soldier did see something. Lyra felt a new sense of confidence. She had been overlooked her entire life, but Daniel's faith in the opportunity to act gave her strength. She began to understand that her quiet intelligence and analytical skills were not weaknesses. They were assets. One afternoon, while exploring the forest near their quarters, Lyra and Daniel stumbled upon an abandoned outpost. Its technology was old, its structure fragile, but it still held secrets. Lyra's curiosity took over. She examined the data cores, ancient logs, and coded messages. This is remarkable, she said. These records could help us predict enemy movements. It's almost as if someone left this here for us to find. Daniel chuckled. Or maybe the galaxy just assumes humans and minor princesses can't figure it out. Either way, advantage to us. They spent days decoding the archives. Lyra's analytical mind, combined with Daniel's tactical experience, allowed them to uncover a hidden plot, an assassination attempt against her minor homeworld, which had long been ignored by the Council. The schemers believed the planet inconsequential, thinking no one would notice or care. Lyra's eyes widened as she realized the danger. They intend to destroy my people. The galaxy doesn't even consider them important. Daniel's expression hardened. Then it's up to us. Humans don't wait for permission to act, and neither do we allow innocent people to be destroyed because others dismiss them. The plan was risky. Acting against a coalition of more powerful alien factions could make them targets. But Daniel's human determination was clear. They would protect the planet no matter the odds. Lyra, inspired by his courage and trusting her own insight, agreed to stand by him. As they prepared to warn her homeworld, the political implications became clear. News of Lyra's involvement reached the other princesses, those admired, powerful, and influential. They were outraged. How dare that human elevate her? Princess Solara fumed, pacing her chambers. She is nothing, a nobody. And now the galaxy will see her as important because of him? Her advisors tried to calm her, but she would not be reasoned with. The other admired princesses began plotting, seeing Lyra as a threat to their own standing. They underestimated her, as did many in the council. But Lyra and Daniel had already proven that intelligence, courage, and careful observation could outweigh popularity. Lyra looked at Daniel that night, standing beneath Viridian's twin moons. "Do you think we can stop this plot?" she asked softly. Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. "We have to. Humans don't back down from challenges, and neither should you. You've learned how to see what others cannot. That is your power." Lyra nodded, feeling a surge of determination. For the first time, she understood that her perceived insignificance was not a weakness. With Daniel by her side, she had the chance to change the course of events, to protect her people, and perhaps even reshape the galaxy's view of her planet. In the following days, Daniel and Lyra sent warnings and prepared defenses. They moved cautiously, knowing that acting too openly could provoke political backlash. Lyra demonstrated remarkable creativity, suggesting strategies the council had never considered. Together, she and Daniel turned what seemed like impossible odds into a viable plan to safeguard her homeworld. Word of their efforts leaked back to the council. Aliens who had mocked Lyra began to watch with a mixture of curiosity and unease. Even Princess Solara and her allies could not ignore the evidence. The minor princess, aided by a human soldier, was capable of brilliance. Lyra looked at Daniel one evening as they reviewed their plans. "I never thought anyone would believe in me," she said. Daniel smiled. "Humans often see what others cannot. And now the galaxy will see it too. You just have to be willing to act." For Lyra, that was the most important lesson. Character, courage, and intelligence mattered far more than appearances or influence. And with Daniel guiding her, she was beginning to realize the true strength of being underestimated. The galaxy had mocked their union. The council had doubted her abilities. Other princesses had plotted against her. But Daniel and Lyra knew the truth. Underestimated individuals could accomplish extraordinary things. And together, they were ready to prove it. The adventure was just beginning, but already the galaxy was starting to notice. The human soldier had chosen wisely, and the least admired princess was about to show the universe that true power was not always obvious, and that humans were extraordinary in ways no one had anticipated. The minor planet of Valeris 9, Lyra's homeland, hung silently in the void, its blue-green oceans and sprawling forests largely ignored by the greater galaxy. Most empires considered it insignificant, a backwater with no political influence. That was exactly why Daniel, Kane, and Lyra had chosen to focus their efforts here. The enemy underestimated it, and that was an advantage they could exploit. Lyra paced the command room of the small defensive station on the planet. Holographic maps floated in the air, displaying the terrain, enemy positions, and predicted attack routes. Daniel stood beside her, arms crossed, studying the projections with his usual calm focus. "The Coalition thinks they can take Valeris 9 with minimal effort," Daniel said. "They have no idea what we're capable of. Humans have a tendency to surprise those who underestimate them." Lyra frowned. "It's not just that they underestimate you, Captain. They underestimate me too. They assume because I am from a minor world, I have no influence, no strategy. They don't know that I've been studying their tactics for years." Daniel smiled. "Exactly. That's why we'll win. The galaxy overlooks the quiet ones, the ones who appear weak. They rarely expect intelligence and courage to come from the overlooked. That's our edge." For the next several days, Daniel and Lyra worked tirelessly to prepare the planet's defenses. They trained local militia, taught them to think creatively, and combined human tactics with alien technologies. Lyra impressed Daniel at every turn, identifying patterns in enemy behavior and suggesting strategies he might never have considered alone. One afternoon, a young Valerian officer approached them. "Princess Captain Kane," he said nervously, "our scouts report unusual activity near the northern ridge. Multiple ships are moving into formation. It seems they are testing our defenses." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Good. Let them make their move. We'll observe, then respond where it hurts them the most. Lyra leaned over the holographic map, her fingers tracing the enemy formations. They're predictable. They're following standard patterns because they assume we don't have the resources to adapt. But if we set traps along these routes, we can split their forces and force them into a bottleneck. Daniel nodded approvingly. Exactly. Humans rarely fight the way others expect. And you, Princess, are learning that mindset quickly. Together, they implemented the plan. Hidden energy barriers, automated drone swarms, and false communications created a web that would confuse the coalition forces. By the time the enemy realized the planet's defenses were stronger than expected, it would be too late. That night, Lyra could not sleep. She wandered out onto the balcony of their quarters, staring at the stars above. "Captain," she said quietly, "why do humans see so clearly? Why can you understand what the others miss?" Daniel joined her, placing a hand lightly on the railing. "We're used to surviving when the odds are against us. Every step of human history is filled with challenges we weren't supposed to overcome. So we learn to notice things others ignore, to adapt quickly, and to value what truly matters." Lyra considered his words. "I think I understand. And now I want to do the same. I don't want to be overlooked anymore. I want to protect my people, to show the galaxy that we are not weak." "You already are showing that," Daniel said with a faint smile. "And you're doing it in ways no one expected. That's how humans win. Not by brute force, but by cleverness and courage." The first major test came sooner than expected. Scouts reported a coalition strike force heading toward Valeris 9. The fleet was small but powerful, with heavily armed cruisers and advanced weaponry. The coalition assumed the planet would surrender without resistance. Lyra and Daniel convened the command team. "This is our moment," Daniel said. "We've trained, we've planned, and we've observed. We know their tactics. Now we show them why humans and those they overlook cannot be dismissed." Lyra's voice was steady, her confidence evident. "We'll lure them into the northern ridge where their movement is restricted. Drones will harass them from above. Energy barriers will split their fleet, and our forces will strike where they least expect. We fight smart, not large." The coalition fleet approached, unaware of the traps awaiting them. Daniel's squadron of human ships darted in and out of the asteroid belts near the planet, confusing sensors and drawing enemy attention. Lyra's energy barriers activated at precise points, forcing the coalition cruisers to slow, cluster, and lose formation. "Now," Daniel shouted. Automated drones surged from hidden stations, swarming the enemy ships with energy disruptors. The cruisers faltered as their shields flickered, unable to counter the unexpected attack. Lyra's mind raced. "Focus on their command vessels. If we disable them, the rest will scatter." Daniel nodded and transmitted her orders to the militia and human squadron. Within minutes, the coalition's command ships were disabled, leaving the fleet disoriented. The local militia moved in swiftly, striking with precision where the coalition least expected resistance. By nightfall, the attacking fleet had retreated in disarray. Valeris 9 had been defended successfully. As celebrations erupted across the planet, Lyra realized how far she had come. Once overlooked, she had identified key strategies, predicted enemy movements, and led defensive operations that saved countless lives. She glanced at Daniel, who was coordinating the human squadron, and felt a surge of gratitude. "You've taught me to trust my instincts, Captain Kane," she said quietly, "and to see value where others do not. I could not have done this without you." Daniel looked at her, a hint of pride in his eyes. "You had it in you all along. I just helped you see it. That's what humans do. We see potential and we act on it." Word of their victory spread quickly. Across the galaxy, political leaders and military strategists began to reconsider the underestimated. Lyra's minor planet was now seen as strategically significant, and her intelligence could no longer be ignored. Some of the admired princesses were furious. They had assumed that minor planets and overlooked individuals would remain irrelevant. Lyra's success challenged their assumptions and threatened their influence. Princess Solara, in particular, seethed. How could a nobody rise so quickly? And with a human guiding her? She demanded to her advisors. But Daniel and Lyra paid little attention to the gossip. Their focus remained on preparation. The coalition would surely strike again, and the next battle would be even more dangerous. Yet they had proven a critical truth. Intelligence, courage, and ingenuity could overcome raw power. The next morning, Daniel and Lyra walked through the training grounds, observing the militia practice drills inspired by human tactics. They're learning quickly, Daniel noted. Humans adapt fast, and so do they when they trust their own intelligence. Lyra smiled. I feel like I understand the galaxy differently now. I see how strength is not always in armies or status, but in thinking clearly, planning carefully, and valuing what matters. Daniel nodded. And that is what humans excel at. That is why we succeed where others fail. The bond between them had grown beyond simple partnership. Mutual respect had transformed into trust, and trust into something deeper. Lyra understood that Daniel saw her not as a pawn or a reward, but as an equal. That recognition strengthened her resolve and sharpened her mind. Days later, intelligence reports indicated that the Coalition was preparing a larger offensive. This time they would not underestimate Valeris 9. Daniel and Lyra knew the stakes were higher, yet neither showed fear. We've proven ourselves once, Daniel said. We can do it again. But we must be ready for anything. The galaxy does not forgive mistakes, and those who are overlooked often face the toughest challenges. Lyra's eyes shone with determination. Then we will meet them, Captain. Together, and they will see what humans and the overlooked can do. As the twin suns of Valeris 9 set, painting the sky in gold and violet, Lyra realized that her journey had just begun. The galaxy might have doubted her, but with Daniel by her side, she would no longer be ignored. Their combination of human ingenuity and hidden talent could change the balance of power. The story of the overlooked princess and the human soldier was spreading quietly but unmistakably. Allies and enemies alike were beginning to recognize that something extraordinary was taking shape. And the galaxy would soon learn that underestimating humans, and those they overlook, was a mistake no one could afford to make. For Daniel Kane and Princess Lyra, the real test was only beginning. But one truth had already been proven. Courage, intelligence, and the willingness to act when others falter could overcome even the greatest of odds. The galaxy might have laughed at their pairing at first, but soon it would have no choice but to watch, learn, and respect. The skies above Valeris 9 darkened with approaching enemy ships. Hundreds of vessels from the Coalition glinted in the sun, a massive, imposing force determined to crush the minor planet once and for all. The galaxy had watched the first skirmish with surprise, but this time, the Coalition came prepared. They would not underestimate Lyra or the human soldier Daniel Kane. Inside the command center, the air was tense. Lyra studied the holographic map, analyzing the incoming fleet's formation. Beside her, Daniel observed quietly, his mind racing through countless tactical possibilities. They've changed their strategy, Daniel said. They're no longer moving predictably. They've studied our last defense. This time they want to overwhelm us with speed and numbers. Lyra's fingers danced over the map. Then we need to adapt faster than they expect. We can't rely on the same traps as before, but we can use the terrain. Their ships are too big to maneuver easily through the asteroid belts on the northern ridge. If we draw them in, we can split their fleet. Daniel nodded. Exactly. Humans always exploit what the enemy cannot change. Obstacles, limitations, and expectations. They think we fight the same way every time, but we don't. That's our advantage. The militia was tense but ready. Daniel addressed them before the battle. You are not powerless. You are clever, you are brave, and you can use your minds as weapons. The enemy assumes weakness here, but we will show them strength in ways they cannot anticipate. Lyra added, trust your instincts. Adapt to the situation. You are the defenders of Valeris 9, and your courage matters more than numbers. We fight smart, not just strong. The humans and Valerians worked together seamlessly, moving through drills that blended alien technology with human strategy. Automated drones, energy barriers, and hidden missile platforms were positioned with precision. Every defensive line was designed not to confront the enemy directly, but to guide them into disadvantageous positions. Daniel glanced at Lyra. Ready? He asked. Lyra's eyes shone. Always. The battle began with a flash of light as Coalition ships advanced toward the northern ridge. They fired in coordinated bursts, trying to break the planet's defenses quickly. Human and Valerian drones darted out, intercepting attacks and striking vulnerable points on the enemy ships. Daniel led the human squadron personally, weaving between massive cruisers with uncanny precision. Focus on their command vessels. He shouted over the comms, if we take them out, the rest will scatter. Lyra coordinated with the militia on the ground. She directed energy barriers to trap the ships in narrow corridors and timed drone attacks to disable weapon systems. Each move was calculated, each tactic precise. The enemy was shocked. Their superior numbers and firepower meant nothing when humans and Valerians used their intelligence to control the battlefield. Coalition officers struggled to adapt, but every time they tried, Daniel and Lyra had already anticipated the move. Hours passed, and the tide of battle shifted dramatically. The Coalition's fleet had taken heavy losses, and confusion spread through their ranks. Lyra's leadership became apparent to everyone. She was no longer the quiet, overlooked princess. She was a strategist, a commander, and an equal partner to Daniel. Daniel caught her eye across the command center. "You've learned quickly," he said with a grin. Lyra smiled faintly, her focus never wavering. "I had a good teacher." Despite their progress, the Coalition had one last trick. A massive dreadnought appeared on the horizon, faster and more heavily armed than any ship they had faced. Its shields glowed menacingly and its weapons bristled. It was clear that this ship alone could destroy the Northern Ridge defenses if left unchecked. Daniel clenched his jaw. "This is it. The big one. They think it will crush us, but they don't understand humans." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Then we need to think like humans. Quick, bold, and unpredictable. We can't fight it head-on, it's too powerful. But there's always a weak point." The plan was daring. Daniel led a small squadron of fast human ships to draw the dreadnought toward a narrow asteroid canyon. Lyra directed the ground forces and automated drones to target the dreadnought's weak spots. Timing was crucial. Too early, and the enemy would adapt. Too late, and the canyon would become a death trap. "Now!" Daniel shouted. The human ships darted toward the dreadnought, weaving between laser blasts. The enemy fired relentlessly, but Daniel's squadron used speed and strategy to avoid destruction. At the precise moment, Lyra triggered the energy barriers, forcing the dreadnought into the canyon. The massive ship rumbled, its engines straining as it attempted to maneuver in the tight space. Daniel's squadron attacked from multiple angles, striking weak points that the Coalition had assumed were safe. Energy shields flickered and the dreadnought shuddered. Lyra's voice came over the comms. "Focus fire on the engine cores. Disable them, and the rest of their fleet will have no direction." The attack was precise and relentless. Within minutes, the dreadnought's engines failed, leaving it stranded. Coalition ships, seeing their command vessel disabled, began to retreat in chaos. The battle was won. The victory was celebrated across Valeris 9. Daniel and Lyra were hailed as heroes, but the most important triumph was personal. Lyra had proven herself as a leader, not just a princess. Her ability to anticipate, plan, and act had saved her planet, and Daniel's human ingenuity had turned impossible odds into a decisive victory. Lyra approached Daniel as the militia cheered. "I never imagined I could do this," she admitted softly. Daniel smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You did it because you trusted yourself and used your mind. Humans succeed when we see possibilities others ignore. You've learned that quickly. You're extraordinary." Lyra felt a warmth of pride. For the first time, she understood that being overlooked was not a weakness. It had allowed her to develop skills and insights without pressure, without expectation, without being watched. And now, with Daniel's guidance, she could show the galaxy her true strength. The political ramifications of their victory began to ripple across the galaxy. News of Valerius IX's successful defense reached councils and empires everywhere. Aliens who had once dismissed Lyra as insignificant were forced to recognize her abilities. The admired princesses who had once mocked her now saw her as a serious contender in the galactic arena. Even Princess Solara could not ignore the facts. She watched reports of Lyra's leadership and Daniel's human tactics with barely concealed frustration. "How can a nobody from a minor world rise so quickly?" she asked her advisors. "And with a human leading her, this is unacceptable." Yet Daniel and Lyra paid no attention to gossip. Their focus was on preparation. They knew the Coalition would not stop. They had learned through human ingenuity and Valerian intelligence that survival depended on vigilance, adaptation, and courage. As the sun set over Valeris 9, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold, Daniel and Lyra stood side by side on the balcony of the command center. "The galaxy may have laughed at us at first," Daniel said, "but now they see a new reality. Underestimating humans and those they overlook is a mistake they cannot afford to make. Lyra nodded. And I will no longer allow myself to be overlooked. Not my planet, not my people, and not myself. Daniel smiled faintly. That's the spirit. The best victories come not from raw power, but from seeing opportunities others miss, from courage and from intelligence. Humans excel at that, and now so do you. Together they watch the stars. The battle was won, but the war for respect, recognition, and survival was far from over. Yet for the first time, Lyra felt truly confident in her abilities and her place in the galaxy. With a human soldier at her side, the impossible had become possible, and the overlooked had begun to rise. The galaxy would never underestimate them again. The galaxy had changed. News of Valeris 9's defense spread across star systems. Aliens who once dismissed Lyra as insignificant were now paying attention. Human ingenuity and Lyra's leadership had proven that underestimated individuals could alter the course of events. In the command center, Lyra studied reports of coalition movements. Despite their last defeat, the coalition had not given up. More fleets were assembling, intent on conquering her minor world and proving once and for all that humans and overlooked princesses were expendable. Daniel Kane stood beside her, his calm presence a constant reassurance. They think they can crush us, he said. They always think that. Humans always adapt. We see what others miss and act before they realize it. Lyra nodded. Then we strike first and we strike smart. We can't let them underestimate us again. Preparations were underway. Every citizen capable of fighting was trained and organized. The militia, now confident in Lyra's leadership, worked alongside human soldiers to strengthen defenses. Energy barriers, automated drones, and human tactics had transformed Valeris 9 into a fortress. Daniel held a briefing with the commanders. They're expecting a direct assault. That's a mistake. We'll make them think they have the advantage. Then we'll hit them from angles they never imagined. They may have numbers, but we have intelligence, speed, and courage, and that counts for more than raw power. Lyra added, We will use every advantage our planet gives us. Narrow passages, hidden asteroid belts, energy traps. And we will exploit their arrogance. They believe strength is in size and firepower. They don't know the power of intelligence and strategy. Even the council observers who had once doubted Lyra were now silent, watching with fascination. The quiet princess from a minor world had become a figure of strength and cunning. The coalition fleet arrived, vast and threatening. Their ships glinted under the sun, bristling with weapons. Daniel's squadron launched from Valeris 9's orbit, weaving between asteroids and activating decoy signals. Coalition leaders expected easy victories. What they got was chaos. Lyra's voice crackled over the comms. Focus on their command ships. Split their formations. Use the terrain. The battle unfolded like a symphony of strategy. Coalition cruisers crashed into energy barriers. Automated drones disabled engines. Human ships darted between enemy vessels, striking vulnerable points. Every move was precise, coordinated, and unexpected. The coalition realized too late that they were trapped. Daniel's human tactics had anticipated every standard maneuver they attempted. Lyra's strategic mind had amplified his efforts, finding weaknesses in formations that even experienced alien commanders failed to see. Hours of battle passed, and the coalition's fleet faltered. Lyra coordinated counterattacks from multiple fronts, while Daniel led daring sorties that struck at the enemy's key positions. Their teamwork was flawless, each anticipating the other's moves without words. Finally, the coalition commander, a massive alien known for his ruthless reputation, realized defeat was inevitable. His flagship was crippled, his forces scattered. Withdraw, he roared, but it was too late. The combined forces of human strategy, Valerian militia, and Lyra's leadership had turned the impossible into victory. Valeris 9 had survived. Its people were safe, and the galaxy had witnessed the power of the underestimated. In the aftermath, Lyra walked among her people. They cheered, recognizing her as more than a princess. They saw a leader. She smiled, thinking of Daniel. Without his guidance, without human ingenuity, their success would have been impossible. Daniel approached her, his uniform scorched but intact. You did this, Lyra. I helped, but it was your mind, your courage, your leadership. You've proven something important. The galaxy can be changed by those others overlook. Lyra looked at him with gratitude. And you've shown me that humans are more than just soldiers. You see value where others do not. That is what makes you extraordinary. Daniel shrugged, smiling faintly. We're underestimated. That's our advantage. You've learned it too. Together, we're stronger than the galaxy expects. The council convened to acknowledge their victory formally. Leaders from across the galaxy gathered to recognize the courage, intelligence, and effectiveness of Lyra and the humans who had fought beside her. The atmosphere was one of reluctant respect. You have done what few could have imagined, said the council head. You have protected a minor world and defeated a coalition fleet that should have overwhelmed you. Your leadership and ingenuity are commendable. Lyra accepted the praise with humility, glancing at Daniel. This was not my victory alone, she said. It was achieved through collaboration, trust, and courage. Qualities Captain Kane has shown me and qualities we share. The council murmured in surprise. A princess acknowledging a human as an equal was unprecedented, yet the evidence was undeniable. Humans had reshaped the battle, and Lyra had stepped into a leadership role that commanded respect. Across the galaxy, reactions varied. Many aliens were forced to reconsider their assumptions about humans and minor planets. The once dismissed Princess Lyra was now seen as a formidable leader, while Daniel Kane became a symbol of human ingenuity and courage. Even Princess Solara could no longer ignore the reality. I underestimated her, she admitted bitterly to her advisors. And I underestimated the human. They are extraordinary. Lyra, however, paid little attention to rivals. Her focus was on rebuilding and strengthening her people. Daniel remained by her side, guiding, teaching, and supporting. Together, they had proven that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could overcome raw power and arrogance. Weeks later, Daniel and Lyra walked through the streets of Valeris 9, observing reconstruction and celebration. Citizens greeted them with respect and admiration. Lyra felt a profound sense of fulfillment. She had grown from the overlooked princess into a leader who could command armies, strategize against the most powerful enemies, and inspire loyalty. Daniel smiled at her. The galaxy will remember this, not just for the victory, but for what it shows. Intelligence, courage, and heart can change everything. Lyra nodded. And humans, you've shown that even when the odds are against you, you never give up. That is why the galaxy will never forget humans either. Daniel chuckled. We're used to being underestimated. But with determination, courage, and a bit of cleverness, humans can accomplish anything. And you've learned that now, too. The pair returned to the command center as new intelligence arrived. Reports indicated that the coalition was retreating, but not defeated. They would regroup and reconsider their strategies. The galaxy was entering a new era, one in which humans and underestimated leaders could influence outcomes far beyond expectations. Lyra looked at Daniel. We've done more than defend a planet. We've changed how the galaxy will think of humans and of minor worlds. Our people will no longer be overlooked. Daniel nodded. And this is only the beginning. The galaxy will continue to underestimate, to misjudge, but we will always be ready. That is the strength of humanity, and now your strength as well. The twin suns set behind them, casting long shadows over Valeris 9. Lyra felt a quiet pride and an unshakable resolve. She had faced doubt, danger, and dismissal, yet emerged stronger. With Daniel by her side, she knew that the underestimated could not only survive, they could triumph. The galaxy had expected a human soldier to choose the most admired princess. Instead, Daniel had chosen Lyra, the overlooked and underestimated. Together, they had faced impossible odds, defended a planet, and forced the galaxy to reconsider its assumptions. Humans had shown once again why they were exceptional, for their courage, ingenuity, and moral clarity. Lyra had shown that hidden potential, when recognized and nurtured, could outshine status, popularity, and power. The galaxy would never forget Valeris 9. It would never forget the quiet princess who rose to command, and it would never forget the human soldier who chose character over glamour, wisdom over influence, and courage over expectation. The unlikely pair stood together, ready to face whatever the galaxy might throw at them next. But one truth was certain. Underestimated individuals could change the course of history, and humans would always rise to meet the impossible. The story of Daniel Kane and Princess Lyra had ended one battle, but began a new era. A galaxy that once mocked and ignored them would now watch in awe, for the least admired princess and the human soldier had proven that greatness was not always obvious, and that sometimes The overlooked were the most extraordinary of all.